Remember infamously that father in Virginia was removed and arrested after he complained about a rape of his child? That's not what the FBI is investigating. The FBI is investigating people complaining about that. One of the things that Ray testified to this week was he pretended that the FBI wasn't investigating parents, and that was not the that was not true. We've had FBI whistleblowers who were blowing the whistle because they were being asked to investigate parents who dared to exercise their First Amendment rights in directing the education of their children by trying to find out what the heck was going on in the school boards in their local community. And Judicial Watch already has litigation on this issue, and we filed a new lawsuit just last week, or maybe it was just this week. I don't know how quickly we got this out. As the headline reads, Judicial Watch sues for FBI records of investigation of parents spurred by October 2021 Merrick Garland memo. So that was the memo essentially dictated by a left-wing interest group representing so-called school boards that was sent out, essentially treating parents as terrorists in the month before some key elections, namely in Virginia, where the school board issue was a big issue. And we filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the Justice Department for all FBI communications from Bureau officials using several systems and databases regarding investigations carried out after that infamous memo from Attorney General Garland instructing investigators to target American parents due to an alleged, quote, increase in harassment and intimidation and threats of violence against school board members, teachers, and workers in our nation's public schools, unquote. Of course, there's no evidence that there was any of that increased threat of violence or whatever of school boards. I do recall seeing school boards telling parents they couldn't come to meetings, refusing to allow the public to speak at meetings. Remember infamously that father in Virginia was removed and arrested after he complained about a rape of his child? That's not what the FBI is investigating. The FBI is investigating people complaining about that. The memo instructed federal law enforcement to open dedicated lines of communications for threat reporting, assessment, and response on possible criminal threats to local school board members over politically charged issues such as critical race theory and other extremism. And we filed this request for information back in February, so we've been waiting a few months for this material. Records and communications of the below-named Federal Bureau of Investigation employees or former employees regarding school board threats, meetings with U.S. attorneys' offices in accordance with Attorney General Merrick Garland's memo, which directed the FBI to partner with local law enforcement and U.S. attorneys to identify parental threats at school board meetings, communications with the National School Boards Association, which was the entity that helped generate this memo targeting parents, Moms for Liberty, which is a conservative grassroots group of moms who want liberty and oppose, as they say, co-parenting their children with the government, and Turning Point USA, run by our friends, namely Charlie Kirk, who has been also mobilizing on this issue. So not only were they targeting parents, but grassroots groups, it looks like, who were opposing the school board abuses that had children being taught improperly, being taught critical race theory, racialism, and of course all this sex talk as well. All of that is something the left was very interested in imposing on children as well. So we want documents from Chris Wray, his deputy director, key officials in field offices for the FBI, where a lot of work is done outside of headquarters, the assistant director of the Criminal Investigative Division, the unit chief and senior program manager at FBI headquarters, the executive assistant director. So there was, we were asking for all the top people. And then we wanted the material, and the trick sometimes with asking for documents from the FBI is that you have to know what systems of records they're keeping. And you need to tell them to search specific systems of records. Otherwise, they play games with you. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we didn't want them to play games. So we listed all the various systems of records and techniques they use to investigate issues and asked them to search them. Their investigative data warehouse, for instance, the electronic surveillance system, their surveillance system, their physical surveillance system, their surveillance records, the law enforcement national data exchange, data integration, and visualization systems. I encourage you to go to our website and look up our requests and then Google and search online for these data systems the FBI uses to spy on you. And sometimes they go after criminals, but the danger is these materials and these systems are being used to spy on parents and target parents for exercising their First Amendment rights. There have been, at least according to Congress, there was a March 21st report out of the House Judiciary Committee that cited the FBI data, which states that there were 25 inquiries under the threat tag edu officials. So that's shorthand for these school boards. And they had been open since the Bureau began tracking these alleged incidents that Garland had made up out of whole cloth. In testimony before the House Judiciary Committee, Garland said he based his memo off a letter from the National School Board Association, formerly available on its website. It took it down, but now available elsewhere, so we've got a link to it if you need it, that labeled parents as domestic terrorists. The School Boards Association later issued an apology for the letter, and so the question is Garland being truthful here? Did they curtail First Amendment or target First Amendment protected speech? And it looks like Wray misled Congress last week about the FBI's willingness to do that. And I recall I reported out because we had found out early on from from some sources that as soon as this memo was issued, I think Wray was out in the hustlings talking to FBI colleagues out west somewhere. And his reaction was, this is the first, we don't investigate First Amendment protected speech. We're not going to do this. And he said he wasn't consulted about this memo before Garland released it. Well, that's all well and good, but his FBI opened up investigations and actually did say what he says he wasn't going to do and what he testified last week saying he hadn't done or his agency hadn't done. So Wray is a disaster. Wray is a disaster. The House committee report concluded the Biden administration officials colluded with school board association leaders to create a justification to use federal law enforcement and counterterrorism resources against parents. Maybe I'm not being angry enough here, but I just want to highlight how angry you should be about this. You're a parent, you go to your school board association to complain about Marxism, critical race theory, and pornography being pushed down your children's throats, and asking, why on earth is this curriculum being put out there? Why is it being done in a secretive way? All the usual complaints that citizens have about the way the government operates, and especially as it operates with respect to children through the school board system of the public school boards. And for that, you get some lefties running some national organization working with their buddies in the Justice Department that have the FBI start knocking on your door or looking at what you said and compiling a file on you. So if you want to know how it is Trump is about to get jailed if the Biden regime gets its way, you're a parent, they want to try to jail you. I mean, it's not whether you're high or low for the communists. It's you're an opponent. And there's no opponent too small or too unworthy in terms of being a political leader versus a regular citizen of being targeted for abuse. If you are active, you are a target. So we're not going to let this drop. Now I just got myself all mad about all this again. But it's really outrageous. And the fact that it's, the FBI is likely to get full funding, or to the degree he gets less funding, it's going to be insignificant, from the House, which is nominally controlled by Republicans, to me, is an epic failure of leadership, of respect for the concerns for the American people, and respect for our constitutional system and the rule of law, given what they've been up to and what they are doing right now. Not just what they've done in the past, what they're doing now with the money that Congress is appropriating for them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.